Hi guys, some of this information I've already been over in the video I uploaded earlier today, but I just wanted to build on that because there's been more reports that's come out and I think it's interesting and important to share the information. So we already know that President Trump has sent a US carrier group to guard against North Korean aggression, and that's the USS Vinson, and that's what I believe is being depicted here in the iPet goat scene that we see with Osama bin Laden. And the reason I believe that is because, as I mentioned in my previous report, the USS Vinson is the same aircraft carrier they used to bury Osama bin Laden at sea. Now that's heading over to North Korea. In fact, by most reports, it's already around the Korean waters. So when North Korea officials met with South Korean counterparts to discuss the Winter Olympics, it was suggested that President Donald Trump's strategy on the hermit nation was beginning to pay off. During the entirety of the Trump presidency, we have seen him attack North Korea and its leader, Kim Jong-un, on numerous occasions. But there have been signs that Trump was willing to soften his position. As reported by USA Today, Trump stated yesterday that he might be willing to negotiate with North Korea if the circumstances were right. However, it seems that the hopes of avoiding a war between the US and North Korea may prove to be forlorn. Vice President Mike Pence recently warned North Korea that the US is prepared for World War III, and according to the Daily Express, President Trump has ordered the USS Vinson, a nuclear aircraft carrier, to the Korean Peninsula. John Bolton, a former ambassador to the United Nations, has warned that the USS Vinson will be in a position to deter against North Korean aggression during the forthcoming Winter Olympics. North Korea's leaders have a long history of carrying out provocative actions during major world events. The eyes of the world will be on North Korea during the Olympics, so Kim Jong-un could well conduct another nuclear or missile test during the Games. According to 38 North, the North Korean regime is convinced that President Trump has only one goal in mind, his threatened total destruction, and that comes under the Operation Bloody Nose I talked about in my earlier report. They argue that US exercises with South Korean and Japanese forces show that the Pentagon is preparing for war, and that serves only to accelerate North Korea's rush to develop nuclear weapons as a deterrent against what it sees as American aggression. As previously reported by the Inquisitor, Trump has repeatedly indicated that he will accept nothing short of a total nuclear disarmament by North Korea. Kim Jong-un has responded by saying that he will not roll back on his nuclear weapons program until North Korea is capable of striking the continental United States with a nuclear missile. North Korea has claimed that they are now able to launch a direct attack on the US, and most analysts claim that Kim Jong-un is close to achieving that goal. As reported by the Daily Star, President Trump has ordered a fleet of B-2 stealth bombers to Guam, an action that is certain to be seen as provocative by North Korea. I just want to stop there for a second because it says a fleet of B-2 stealth bombers to Guam, but in actual fact, it was 3 stealth bombers that were sent to Guam. And that rings, we've got, in my opinion, the USS Vinson shown here with Osama bin Laden. And then we have the next scene, which I'm going to bring up, which is markets plunge, or uranium first, markets plunge, and then war coverage. So I just want to play this section here for a second. And there they are. In my opinion, these are the 3 B-2 stealth bombers that have been sent over to Guam. That's what I believe, in my opinion. It's because, as I've said multiple times, I feel like we're living in a timeline. Things are being confirmed left, right, and center, including the year using Chinese calendar, lunar calendar, Gregorian calendar, and it's all matching up to a specific time frame. And then you've got representations like the USS Vinson moving over to North Korea. That's what I believe is depicted in the iPad Goat video. and then we've got 3 B-2 stealth bombers being sent over to Guam, and they will be, flying around North Korea, acting as a deterrent. I'd do that with air quotes, because I believe that the B-2 stealth bombers and the USS Carl Vinson are part of the strategy of Donald Trump to launch a preemptive strike on North Korea. And the reason they're going to do that is because North Korea, even though they're in peace talks, I say that with air quotes too, they're digging out, even though they're in, peace talks with South Korea, they're still digging out their nuclear test site. So, in other words, they're basically continuing with provocative action. And that's what's going to lead to this bloody nose strategic strike on North Korea. And just to show anyone who doesn't know what a B-2 stealth bomber looks like, this is what it looks like. The exact same triangle shape. I mean, I can just imagine in my mind flipping this plane upside down and seeing, red and green and blue lights, or red and purple, lights on the bottom of it. Triangular shaped, Masonic compass shaped stealth bombers, 3 of them heading over, and then we've got 3 of them heading over and fitting right into this time frame that we're now looking at. Let me continue with the report. So all of this, according to The Guardian, means that tensions between the US and North Korea are far from over. They argue that Donald Trump's thin-skinned ignorance and inconsistency mean that tensions remain higher between the two nations. Just last week, we saw an extraordinary attack by President Trump on the North Korean leadership. Trump tweeted that he had a bigger nuclear button than Kim Jong-un. Whilst President Trump continues to make threats of that nature, North Korea will continue to fear that Trump will order a military strike against them. Trump's indication that he would consider negotiations with North Korea is a positive step, but the president has made clear that he will not accept the freeze-for-freeze deal favoured by Russia and China. North Korea's leadership has also made clear that they will not negotiate until they are confident that they are not at risk of being attacked by Trump. There may be signs of a slight foreign relations between Washington and Pyongyang, but this is a crisis which is far from over. And my question then comes up in relation to the IPEC GOAT video, when we're seeing the uranium markets plunge and war coverage in the guys. Uranium comes first, then war coverage. So uranium would be linked to nuclear, something nuclear, whether that's a nuclear detonation, a nuclear missile, or a nuclear test site, for example. And then the markets plunge, and then comes news coverage or war coverage. So the markets plunge before, according to this anyway, the markets plunge before the news starts talking about the war coverage. And in my opinion, this is just speculation, but I feel like Donald Trump is a billionaire, and he has billionaire friends and billionaire donors. The billionaires are the ones that keep the stock market kind of flowing, investing in the stocks, selling stocks, buying stocks, all that kind of stuff. My question in relation to this is, would Donald Trump warn some of his billionaire buddies or billionaire donors that he's about to make such a decision, for example, a bloody nose strike on North Korea to preemptively take out their nuclear test site or their nuclear missiles? And would that be what causes the markets to plunge? And then does Donald Trump attack? Then we get the war coverage. That's just speculation on the timeline of the specific events. But I really feel, I can't even say it enough, we live in the timeline. This is it. This is where we are. We're clearly being shown different things, and they all seem to be connecting together. As I mentioned, the CDC having their nuclear meeting on the 16th of January, and the summit that doesn't involve China and Russia going on in Canada on the 16th of January. The USS Carl Vinson moving over to North Korea, the 3 stealth bombers moving over to North Korea, and North Korea continuing to tunnel out their nuclear test site. All of this is linked together, and it just screams out to me that something's going to kick off in the very near future. We don't have much time. to get the warning out to people. I don't know really what else to say on that topic, so I'm just gonna play what Mike Pence said regarding North Korea.
The era of strategic patience is over. For literally 2 decades, one administration after the other has exercised a level of patience and negotiation that has resulted in the dictatorship in North Korea developing ballistic and nuclear missiles that may well threaten the United States of America as we speak. That's unacceptable. President Trump has brought unprecedented economic and diplomatic pressure to bear on the regime in Pyongyang. We'll continue to do that. And part of my message in going is going to be to stand with those American athletes and know that we're cheering them on and wishing them well. But the underlying message is the president is sending us there to make it clear that we stand with South Korea, we stand with our allies in the region, and we will continue to bring maximum economic and diplomatic pressure to bear until North Korea abandons its nuclear and ballistic missile programs that threaten the United States of America.
Now, North Korea is not going to give up its nuclear weapons. We all know that. And looking at it objectively, why would they? North Korea remembers the Korean War. North Korea remembers the China War. North Korea remembers the Cold War with Russia. They remember the invasion of Iraq, the invasion of Afghanistan, the war currently going on in Syria, the war with Venezuela, the Cuban Missile Crisis. All of this historic evidence is a reason to justify why they are continuing to develop a nuclear, in their words, a nuclear deterrent. We heard from the diplomats of North Korea that it would be insane for them to attack the USA first. Their country would be gone. They realize that. But at the same time, they're not going to back down. And they are in a better position than most of the other countries that I just named because they've got China on their back doorstep and Russia not too far away as well. And that is probably the only reason that this hasn't already started, as well as it falling into their timeline and their plans. China and Russia are probably the only reasons why North Korea haven't been, attacked already. Trying to weigh the risks of China getting involved and Russia getting involved. But that's their plan anyway. Everyone's going to get involved. So I just wanted to point that out. I know there was a lot of reiteration there from the video I posted earlier. But that report that I read kind of summed up everything in one. It mentioned everything that I wanted to mention. The B-2 stealth bombers, the USS Carl Vinson, the reaction from the North Korean diplomats. So Mike Pence said there that it was all about trying to protect the American people. And for people who would suggest that myself and others like me who do videos trying to warn people, suggesting that that's fear-mongering or warmongering, the real fear-mongering is coming from the US administration, which is trying to convince the American people that they're in danger from North Korea in order for them to launch a preemptive strike, which will be supported by the American people, particularly the people that support Trump, diehard Trump fans. They will encourage it, they will cheer it, they'll recommend it, and at the end of the day, just fall into the trap. It's the same thing. It's history repeating itself. That's what makes me so mad. We know what the signs are of a potential war kicking off. Build up of military over time so as not to scare people, and then a reason to invade. Like with Iraq, it was the weapons of mass destruction that never materialized. Over here, we do actually have weapons of mass destruction, but when you take into consideration the reason the North Koreans are doing this, I kind of understand, and I say to myself, well, if I was the ruler of my own country, and I've seen various other countries fall, dictatorships fall, regardless of whether you think a dictatorship is a good thing or a bad thing, that's the way that the country's been run. And there's a certain level of independence that's given to each individual country. But when they cross the line in terms of maybe wanting to sell their oil in their own currency or another country's currency, or they're strategically positioned in a location that blocks access to the real goal, for example, North Korea and China, that's when war kicks off. That's when, you know, the bombers come out, the military get their boots on, and what can't be achieved through diplomacy is achieved through bloody violence. So that's my report for you guys. Just wanted to update you on those things. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good night. God bless you all. Take care.